Welcome back to the FanSpeak Network and another episode of Friends of Best Ball. And I am very excited to have my first non-FanSpeak friend on the 2024 Best Ball season. I have James Brimacombe, and we're going to talk best ball strategy, 2024 landscape, and then do a live draft together in just 1 minute. That's right. Thank you so much for joining us for our Friday Friends of Best Ball. I'm, of course, Meg. You can follow me at Megs08DFS. And again, I am joined. My friend this week is James Brimacombe, and you can find him on Twitter at EagleZZZ. He has been one of my favorite best ball follows since I've gotten interested in the industry. So I'm super, super excited to have him on. James, how are you doing this morning? And again, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, no, of course. Thanks for squeezing me in the early morning here, mountain time, just, bright and early. So, yeah, just trying to get the kids off to school, and, just it's always crazy. So that's why
it worked out for me to do an early morning show. I'm actually heading, I live in Baltimore, Maryland, and it's an annual tradition with friends to go to the day before Preakness races. So I am literally off to the races after this. If you're in the Baltimore area, I'd never recommend going to the Pimlico racehorse or racetrack, but it's an annual tradition, so got to do it. And I will be heading there after this, so it worked out absolutely perfectly.
Okay.
But yeah, you can follow obviously him at EagleZZZ on Twitter. He also has a great website, bestballrankings.com, to check out. And I just definitely recommend his following him on Twitter because he is a wealth of knowledge in the best ball space and one of my favorite follows. So James, I had just a couple quick best ball get to know you questions. I mean, how long have you been playing best ball? And I assume, have you been in the underdog streets since the very beginning?
Some little quick background. Like, I grew up in Toronto, Canada, so that was, and then the hockey, everything was hockey. So, I mean, still have a huge love for hockey, but then I did eventually move to US, and I mean, everything's football, so it's pretty easy to transition. Even back home, like my older brother, he got me into football. We were doing fantasy for years, like when I was like a teenager. So then it transitioned into, just the redraft, and then you try, I'm going to try this PPR redraft, and then I'm going to try Dynasty. Then you keep pushing the envelope. Then eventually I found the MFL 10s back in the day for best ball, and I was like, oh wow, this format, I can do a lot of these drafts, and I just love the feel of the draft. So did those, and and then it moved to play draft, and they were kind of the ones before Underdog.
Underdog, right?
And they had these crazy tournaments where you could win pretty sizable amounts of money up top. So I was chasing those, and they folded, and Drafters was hanging around, so I played over the COVID years there, for a year where no one else was offering anything, and then then Underdog came around, and I was waiting. I saw their tweets every time. They're like, "Hey, we're coming," and I was just waiting for them to go live, and haven't turned back. So
Underdog is just absolutely the GOAT company to me. I mean, they, this is their fifth big, year with the flagship tournament, the Best Ball Mania. And they always just seem to listen to their customers and, new offerings. And it just makes it exciting because I've really just gotten into the best ball space 3 years ago. So it's kind of progressed each year more and more and more. And this year will be even more. So, I absolutely love it. Never looking back on the redraft.
It's hard. It's hard to go back that direction. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Justin in chat. He's part of the FanSpeak team. He says, welcome, James. So let's talk a little bit really quick about like your favorite best ball strategies. So just a quick question. I mean, one of my favorite things I have to say about you on Twitter is you're not afraid to kind of make your own stands. And, you definitely don't just go with the crowd. And I like that. I like to think that I do that sometimes too. And so kind of what are your biggest best ball strategy stands if you have a couple?
I think kind of my focus more was or the past few years was on volume. Like, hey, these best ball is like a newer game. These tournaments are super top heavy, so many entries, and I just want to pound the volume. Any low dollar things, anything under $5, I put as many as I can in.
Hmm.
And then it's always like I know people focus on the week 17, but mine's always like I want to get like 30 different teams in the finals across all the stuff, and
Right.
hopefully you get lucky in one, and there's
Right.
probably a week 17 correlation in there somewhere. So,
Yeah.
but this year I'm going to be a little bit more mindful. I might draft, maybe half as many teams as I did last year, but we'll see what time holds for me. But I think I might the way on Underdog, I'm probably going to focus a little more on maybe like the week 16 stuff.
Hmm.
Um, if I'm being honest, like I played the Best Ball Mania. I played that ever since it opened. I probably put in the last 2 years, I've max entered that one. The first couple years, probably another 50 or a little bit more than that. So probably I'm in at close to 400 entries on Best Ball Mania,
Hmm.
and 400 entries. I have 0 trips to the finals in that contest. So
Right, but to your point, you have plenty of other finals trips and wins in other tournaments that
right,
aren't.
right, and that's kind of where my like pushback on the week 17. It's like I feel like if you can't get there, I don't see the point of that. So
Yeah, you can
yeah,
have a beautiful week 17 stack that is just sitting in the back end in the results page already.
yeah, and I know that's like the focus of a lot of people's conversations entering these
Yeah,
tournaments. Like that's the number one thing. Obviously, stacking's huge.
right.
Just QB with your receivers and things like that. Just correlating in general.
Yeah,
Um, and I look a lot at ownership too. I think that's overlooked, especially as a volume
hmm,
drafter. Like
right.
definitely, if you're drafting, 1,000 teams or whatever you're drafting, you do not need to be 40% on one player. Like that's actually not a very good strategy.
That's a mistake I made last year that I want to improve this year. My 35% Mike Williams and 20% Nick Chubb that early hurt really, really, really bad. So I'm
Oh yeah,
trying
that's
to learn
rough.
lessons. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but and so you're trying to figure out what's a good number, like
right.
you can still like Mike Williams and you can still like Nick Chubb, but maybe the 35% you should have been, double the field, which is still pretty good, which would be like what 17%, and then you're getting on players in that draft range that maybe you're only like 5% on, so you're kind of evening it out your portfolio. So
Right. And I feel like I'm kind of going to give myself permission to get more exposure the later because then in season long injury is not going to crush you as bad to a, 14th round pick or something. I feel like you can slide the scale up a little
yeah,
bit. So,
yeah, no,
um,
no, for sure.
well, you made a great point about contest selection and any other tips for people because that's what I'm also trying. I wrote an article about what I did, not great, and trying to work on what I did well and want to continue in contest selection. And by the way, Justin said you're getting to BBM finals. It's happening. We got
One
Updog
year.
saying GM. So good morning. But in contest selection, because this is something that I really want to improve on. Yes, I want my shots at BBM, of course, but I am really, really interested in like the single entries, the 3 max, the really, really, really paying attention to the advance rate structure, which Underdog nicely places it at the top when you go to click for the information details. Any tips on contest selection?
I think just look at everything and get a variety of everything. Those 20 max are really nice and they're usually
Hmm.
lower dollar. I think Eliminator is a really fun contest. Like I'm gonna focus a lot more on maybe the Eliminator and the weekly
Nice.
winners. Like I feel like having in-season payouts is something you're gonna see a lot more of. Maybe not so much this year, but even next year,
Right.
because they want that all that money to kind of cycle back in.
Sure. Yeah.
So and it gives the customer like, oh, I feel like I won something, So
Yes.
I'm gonna look kind of for those contests where there's not enough information out there. You have to do your own research. You have to make your own strategies. That's just different. I feel like sometimes time we get to July and August, like these puppies and Best Ball Mania, everyone's drafting exactly the same. The
Right.
ADP is like so it's stuck. Like nothing's
Right.
really going to change. So that's why I like those different kind of contests where it's more of a game theory for me. So I'm always
Right.
looking for that.
And because it's newer, kind of like you said, finding your own edges.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I like that. I need to do some more research on weekly. I didn't do so good on Eliminator last year, so I'm a little discouraged, but I should give it a shot again. Like you said, newer format, and then the weekly winners did all right, but want to do some research, same, and get my shots, because like you said, it's I know you posted something on Twitter. It's not a high amount to get that like equity to have a weekly sweat, which is kind of fun too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think a mistake a lot of people make too going in, like depending on what volume you are, like if you're just, putting 20 best ball entries out there, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. But like the higher you go, like I think people get tied up in it and all those big prizes, especially like Best Ball Mania, like now $1.5 million, like that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I try to make goals going into the year. Like I want like this ROI number, and you'd be like last year it was like 50,000, like that. I don't need to win millions of dollars like that. Was like you have to come up with a goal and kind of work toward. You can't just say like my goal is to win top prize in the biggest best ball contests. Yeah, that would be nice, but
Right.
I think you have to be a little more realistic in what you're trying to accomplish in best ball.
I think that makes a ton of sense. And I always love how you kind of are very forthcoming with, your database of how much you're entering and watching your ROI, and watching as the season goes on. I know you had I believe a drafters sweat last year, correct? On the drafters format.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that.
We don't want to talk about that. Okay.
Kidding.
So the last couple of weeks didn't go break your way there. And so we're not going to talk about that, but you're very forthcoming, and people like me appreciate that, just to see, like again, bottom line ROI and being very thoughtful about that. I also like how you share your exposures and that kind of stuff. Those kind of things are very, very helpful to be open about that kind of stuff, and just very authentic about that. And people like me really appreciate it, and I'm sure others do too. So keep doing it. We love it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's what I feel like. I feel like there needs to be some honesty and transparency. Like it is a hard game, and
it is.
You put a lot of time in and a lot of your money, and people are posting screenshots left and right of like all these big wins, but that it's not really like that. Like it really is a grind, and then when you get one of those big payouts, it's very, very rewarding, but you earn that. So it might take a few years, so it doesn't come instantly. And just like drafters, like that kind of it was going to make or break my season last year, where I was sitting about 5th place, like week 14, 15. And then the last few weeks, my guys just kind of leveled out, and I think I finished like in the mid 20s. So, but it was a huge swing. It was like at one point I was winning 50,000, and then I think I ended up with maybe like 4,000, So,
okay. I didn't know it was that much of a swing, and I'm very sorry for bringing
no. And I think that's important for people to understand. Like it really is, just up and down, and when you do hit, though, it's very sweet. So
I was gonna say that's what makes it so rewarding. And again, I saw it on your website, bestballrankings.com. You have plenty of finals experiences and first place wins, and total ROI and to speak to, and that's what does make it so rewarding, because it is a grind. And absolutely. Have to ask, are you a fast drafter or a slow drafter?
So I mean, my life is chaotic. So I have 4 kids. I have a full-time job. I have, all my kids are in every activity you can think of. We're just always on the go. I have 2 boys now playing travel hockey, and we're just gone every weekend, and we're at the rink like 5 or 6 days a week.
I've seen some of the pictures you posted on Twitter. That's awesome.
So a lot comes down to I probably 80% fast drafter. A lot of those maybe are at the rink or at different events, or just anytime I have free time. And
gotta multitask.
And then the slow drafts. Yeah, I'm not a slow draft hater. I enjoy the slow draft.
If it's what it takes to get them in, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you can actually put a lot more thought into the slow draft,
Yeah.
and you can kind of construct teams differently. Like it's yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I want to mix in some more slow drafts this year just to be a little more thoughtful about it. I think the fast drafts are exciting. I enjoy them, but I want to mix in some more slow drafts. We have Tim in chat talking about everything you spoke to. That's a great perspective. They want to hear about this.
Oh,
And
Updog's amazing. So that
dog.
guy's a
Okay.
drafter's legend, Updog.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Updog. I appreciate it. And Tim asked, are you going to go back to doing a lot of drafters this year? Go back to the drafters site, or will you max enter their big tourney?
Yeah, definitely drafters. I felt like that was the best tournament in best ball last year. So
Okay.
that's why I think that was an easy thing. If you looked at the landscape of everything, you knew there's going to be overlay.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
have great promos, as Tim mentioned too. Yeah.
yeah, and I love the 20-man rosters. Like I do love Underdog, but like
Hmm.
20-man rosters to me, like I feel like if you're good at this stuff, those extra 2 rounds, that's where your edge is.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of edge is lost in Underdog. So it's very, I mean, you're just competing with the best of the best there, and you're just like bumping heads. But if you had an extra 2 rounds, I think you could divide up the talent a little bit more and find more edges. So I say that, and I don't really play on DraftKings. I know they have 20 rounds, but
For some reason, my results on DraftKings aren't very good. I don't know, but why? I do know that I have better results on FanDuel than DraftKings in daily fantasy. So I think I'm more of a touchdown hunter than a PPR girl.
yeah.
So, I know Drafters is full point PPR as well, but I do want to mix. I do like that season long component in the season long sweat. So I do want to mix in some more drafters this year too. You sold me on that.
Well, I mean, the year before, my teams were pretty much garbage, and yeah, lost half my money. So, I mean, it really does come down to like you want to have like a handful of teams that you think can make a run later in the season, and
Right.
that's what makes drafters fun too. So, but if you don't have that, then the sweat's not quite as fun.
Right. Last couple of questions, and then we'll jump into a BBM 5 live draft together. BBM landscape this year, you kind of touched on it. Obviously, for the BBM drafts that you're doing and the way the payout structure is, I love the payout structure changes, that it's not so top heavy, it's more balanced, a little, like you said, more emphasis on week 16. My focus is going to be just advance rate to your point about total ROI. And with that, I am going to put a little more emphasis on week 16 because, getting one shot even to the finals is kind of paying off if you're max entering. So how are you kind of handling it differently? Is it waiting week 16 a little more? Is it more focused on just building for total advance rate? Any with the shifts in BBM, any changes for you?
Yeah, for one, big thanks to Underdog. That was a huge change.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they would have kept going the way they were, like people, I don't know, that like you're putting in a lot of money and you're probably only going to get back 30% of your money. Like it's it was set up to be a really bad contest. Like it could have ruined a best ball overall,
Yeah.
like down the line, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like you would
Yeah.
lose a lot of customers. But now, yeah, like if you wanted to max enter, you can get your money back making the finals. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's huge right there. So like the goal should be, I just somehow need to land one team in the finals,
Exactly.
and then you have a fun sweat in week 17. That's kind of how I approach it. Unless, I mean, if you've won 6 figures and all this and have this huge bankroll, then I get why you would be like, oh man, why'd they cut it to 1.5? I want the 3 million. But yeah, for all these people, we're just trying to get to that level. But I think there's a lot of different variety of players out there.
Yeah.
And it comes back to like what your goals are, what you want to accomplish.
Right.
For me, best ball is more of like an income tool for my family. Kind of, I want it as like more of a second income. Anything that comes in, it's usually paying bills or we're going on a family trip. So it's not like this life-changing money. It's just like helping a family live. So
Yeah, yeah, and that's why you're focused on total ROI, and that's why you're making smart decisions on your entry fees and the expected value and those things and the advance rates and that kind of stuff. So I think this is all really good advice. I mean, honestly, I appreciate it, and again, that's why I appreciate everything you post and share on Twitter. But it's awesome to talk about it now too. Any final thoughts on the 2024 landscape that you have before we jump into our own 2024 BBM5 draft here? Like the shifts in
yeah.
and that kind of stuff.
So I love these bigger contests like drafters. You asked if I was going to play there in the big contest. Like right now, I'm just like putting the $2. I'm just exercising, and I think I've done like 40 $2 ones on drafters, and I'm doing these puppies and lower stake ones on Underdog right now. Like I've done 4 Best Ball Manias, and maybe I'll get to 20 of those by even the end of July. Like I'm not going to be focused on that contest at all, because I feel like there's a huge edge there now. Like not a huge edge, but an edge. Like I feel like now there's so much information, everyone knows the same, but I don't see the point of drafting too many teams in May. I feel like there's a huge advantage midway through August up until like those last 3 weeks before kickoff. Like, you have so much more information, and if you're just like a solid drafter at that point, you can really construct a lot stronger teams, in my opinion. You're going to hit a lot less landmines, especially when you only have 18 picks. Like I feel like 20 picks when they did the big board stuff. I'm fine firing away at those, because it locks like when the NFL draft happens, and you have 2 extra bullets that you're gonna have 4 or 5 dead spots, and they kind of cover you.
Right. Yeah, I remember I was drafting Corey Davis last year thinking he would be a great weapon for Aaron Rodgers. And then I did one on a stream where I either drafted him or someone talked me out of it that I was doing a stream with. And literally I got off the stream and they were like, Corey Davis retired. And I was like, there we go. So anyways, we have Andrew in chat. He's part of the FanSpeak team. Good morning. He said, how are we focusing with all the Scotty Scheffler drama? It is wild. I'm sure a lot of people are paying attention to that right now. And Tim definitely appreciates all this information like I do. So I think with that, it's time to jump over and we're going to do a BBM5 draft together. We're going to talk it through together. And I promise I'll split $1.5 million with you, if that sounds good.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine by me.
All right. So pulling over Underdog now. Let's get into the lobby. If anybody's in, I'm going to count it down. And if you want to jump in with us, you are welcome to. So 3, 2, 1. If you want to join us, I am jumping in right now. And James and I are going to draft a team together. We are waiting on 3 people in this lobby. And we will see what we can come up with here.
Another advice, like I talk about the BBMs, in the past years, like the past 2 years, I've actually maxed those, but I don't know if a lot of people do this, but I actually split my entries with another person. So because I didn't really like the payout structure, and I didn't and it was way too top heavy. And just like you said, well, we can split the 1.5, like that's fine. But yeah, like I was fine splitting 3 million last year and 2 million the year before. Like I don't think we need like a $5 million top prize. Like people are gonna even if it was just a clean $1 million.
I agree. I'm so happy they changed the payout structure. I was going to do less BBM and more other like the single entry, the 20 max, the 3 max, that kind of stuff. And now I do want to do a little more BBM this year because of their changes. So okay, so let's see. The draft is starting. We are at the 10th spot, and let's see. We do have Andrew in chat. TD King. He is at the 4 spot. So let's see if I recognize any other names, or if you recognize any other names, James. I think the only name I recognize is Andrew at the 4 spot. TD King. Do you recognize anybody else?
Yeah, I don't. No, I don't. I've probably been in lots of drafts with them, but I think the Buckley maybe.
Okay, Andrew said he knows NF42. So
we're all friends. It doesn't matter who's
we're
in
all
here.
friends. That's right. That's right. So the draft is starting. Of course, as you expect, Christian McCaffrey goes number one. How do you like handling the back end of the turn? I actually don't mind the whole 10 through 12 spot. There's a lot of, either running backs or receivers that I like to target there. Who do you typically like to target at that 1-2 turn, 10, 15 spots is what we have here?
I feel like this year, like the 1 through 8 is pretty safe. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
hit all those. Then after like the 9 to 12, like it's more challenging. But I feel like every year we feel like the top end is you feel so safe and comfy and like, oh, my draft's perfect. And then by the end of the year, it's like it's usually like the 10 through 12 are the best teams in
Yeah, that
your
was it
guys' draft.
last year. The guy that won BBM, I think, had the 12th spot, getting the Mon-Ra CD Lamb stack. So, you never know how it works out. Any particular player? So, Bijan Robinson went 2 in this one. I do love the Atlanta stacks. I just did a playoff article. Check out on fanspeak.com. I'll be breaking down the different aspects of the playoff article. I just touched on, of course, your weather girl 7 months ahead, but no, the dome and weather environments is what the article is about up on fanspeak.com now. But I'll talk about, game environments as far as high total shootouts, game environments as far as, defensive matchups, that kind of thing. So we'll touch on all of it to really target those best teams. I really like Atlanta's playoff schedule a lot. So let's McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson. Then, as you expect, a little run on receivers: Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Mon-Ra, Justin Jefferson. We're up in a couple picks here. We have Breece Hall just went, and then we've got the 3 receivers next: Puka Nacua, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, and then you've got Jahmyr Gibbs. Who would you like to target here, James?
Yeah, it's always these guys when you're on the board here, so
Right.
it's hard to know. Like I'd probably go.
So
Yeah,
Puka just went, and we're on the clock. So
I'd
would
probably
you?
go Garrett Wilson.
That's been my guy in this range, and I know I need to work on my exposures on especially the early round picks. But I honestly haven't gotten a ton of the back half to get them yet. I just, with Aaron Rodgers back, he has not played with a good quarterback yet, and I cannot wait to see it. So we'll be up again here in 3 picks at pick 15. And we'll see if Jahmyr Gibbs hangs around. We've got Marvin Harrison, Drake London, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Brandon Ayuk. With 2 picks away, who would you target in this situation?
Yeah. So usually on this turn, it's nice to go 2 receivers, but also it's nice to go one receiver, 1 running back.
Yeah. I kind of like getting a hero running back in this spot too. So I don't have a problem. Again, I like Atlanta. I like Arizona's schedule too, but obviously I like Barkley and Jonathan Taylor a ton. So
Yeah. So I think actually Barkley is like, to me, he should be a first round pick.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I don't know, maybe that's the Eagles fan in me, but at the same time, like I think he's close to McCaffrey, more close than people think.
Than people think. Yeah.
Well, the fact that he's been on the really, really bad team for a long time, and you saw like
Right.
Barkley goes from Carolina, and he was great there, but then he goes to the 49ers, and it's a whole different level. And then I just think, I know people think the tush push is still going to be a thing in Philly. I honestly don't think we're going to see that until
That
the
was
playoffs.
my next question. You beat me to it.
Yeah.
Was, as an Eagles fan, do you think we'll see a little less tush push and a little more Saquon Barkley at the 1 or 2 yard line?
Yeah, no, I think he could actually lead the league in rushing touchdowns.
Well, that's what we're looking for here. So I like that pick, like you said, in the early second round.
Yeah, I love him a lot more than Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor, and I like him more than Marvin Harrison and Adams and London. So to me, he should be probably, after Puka, Wilson, and AJ Brown.
And
I think
AJ Brown.
Barkley, and I
Yeah.
would even take maybe Barkley over Brown.
I think I got one start with Brown and Barkley, and I like that. We kind of touched on, the week 17 and then week 16 stacking. And my brother and I talked in a recent episode about, what I'm really focusing on is just stacking teams that I like and getting the team correlation. And that's where I feel like I have my most success, especially where I can hit it from different positions. And if I don't get the quarterback, we got in that particular draft, of course, I wasn't able to get Jalen Hurts. He had got taken before he came back around. I'm fine with that, to get Barkley and AJ Brown, with or without the quarterback. I just want to stack really good offenses. So yeah, I love when you can do that.
Yeah, and then back on the Garrett Wilson pick, I feel the reason I like that, and I mean, I love Puka, I love AJ Brown, but they also have Cooper Kupp, and you have Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson. You have absolutely nothing. So it's like he has a
He's the
path to
alpha.
like crazy amount of targets. I mean, you're betting a little bit on Aaron Rodgers, but even last year, like Wilson gave you some production with like the worst of the worst QBs. So
right. Updog just mentioned, I think Saquon will get that late summer steam, as he always does, and I would agree with that. So I think that makes a ton of sense. Andrew says Henry or Barkley to lead the league in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns are safe bets. Agree with that too. I think that's definitely in play. So yeah, I actually like Henry. I don't mind Henry this year with the Ravens in the third round. I've been taking some of him as well. Do you have a particular draft style that you lean into? I mean, I know you can do any draft style and make it work, whether it's hero RB or zero RB, or, even grabbing 2 running backs early, but is there a particular strategy that you lean into more than others?
I've always been just like a value guy, like in the
Yeah.
later rounds. Like, oh, if a guy can fall 2 rounds at ADP, I get very
Mm-hmm.
excited.
Right.
But I mean, this year, I feel like I've been back and forth on a lot of different strategies to start.
Yeah.
Like more like the elite QBs, maybe a little bit more pushing that, and then
Well, they've
kind of,
fallen, certainly. So yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense. They've fallen compared to last year. Take a
Well,
look at Andrew here at the 4 spot. Got Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, Sam Laporta, which that's a little week 17 correlation. I only know that because I'm trying to memorize stuff,
yeah.
but I just wrote a playoff article. Check that out on fanspeak.com. And that's in a good environment in San Francisco, I believe that game is. So I kind of did a little chart of the dome games and then the games that are in California and Florida, because outside of rain, you'll at least have some warm weather. You never know anywhere else. I can't be a weather girl 7 months ahead.
Yeah, I think you're gonna actually see a lot of that in the next 2 weeks, as ADPs are gonna shift based
Yep.
on week 17 stuff. So
Oh
yeah, if you're into that, you probably should make sure you know those matchups, and then you can kind of adjust your strategy, because you're gonna see a lot of those.
Yeah, and I think Andrew on the show last night, the guys did a cardio club show. Check that out. He talked about, as you kind of mentioned, now's a good time to scoop value, because there's going to be a lot of people really focused on the week 17 correlation. You can probably scoop some massive value. So speaking of, we are 1 pick away at pick 34. We've got 3 receivers at the top, and we do have Jalen Hurts if you want to correlate that with Saquon Barkley. So we got Metcalf, Devonta Smith just went, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Hurts, Travis Kelce, Josh Jacobs at the top of the board. What's sticking out to you the most?
And I like Cooper Kupp probably. I mean, I'm fine with Hurts if you want to go with Barkley. That's fine. I actually like that stack, because everyone's going to have the AJ Brown and the Smith with Hurts. So I'd rather not have those receivers with Hurts sometimes.
Yeah, I like I want more Cooper Kupp shares for sure. Maybe we'll get super lucky and he'll come back to us at 39. Nope.
Yeah.
Didn't think so. But I kind of like the opportunity to get a hero, quarterback with the elite running back. So and
I mean,
stack the team.
Barkley catches a lot of passes. I know.
That's true.
So and then you're gonna have everything at the goal line. Like maybe it Hurts will still do the tush push, and you're gonna have every freaking touchdown at the goal line. And
Right.
Eagles should be at the goal line more often than you think too.
Right. So 2 picks away. We've got our first elite quarterback, running backs. We have Jacobs, Etienne at the top of the board. Receivers, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, Tank Dell, George Pickens. That's getting a little later. And then the tight ends. I know there's some elite tight ends here. Kelsey, McBride, Kincaid. What's jumping out to you the most here?
I mean, if you wanted one of the elite tight ends, you'd probably have to go here, because they'll be all gone. I really like Josh Jacobs, and I really like Travis Etienne. I like the Barkley with one of those, and then you don't have to touch running back for a long time.
I'm kind of leaning Jacobs. Are you fine with that?
Yeah. I think Green Bay, incredible offense this year. I
Yep.
think people should be betting on them more.
Yes. Again, just wanting to make those team bets, which we can later. Who knows? Maybe we'll be able to get some more Green Bay and love. So we started a 1-2-1. We're now going to have to pretty much hammer receivers here before it thins out too quick. But like you said, when you get 2 running backs early, the nice thing is then you can just focus on the other positions and then go back to the running back more like the 11th round.
Well, and then you can only go 5 running backs too, so that
Exactly.
I mean, you can build up your receivers. We have the quarterback too, so with Hurts, so you're only going to go 2 QBs and 5 running backs here. Like you can already tell, like that's what you're going to do.
So I was going to say, do you have a favorite build structure as far as like?
Yeah, I think 2-5-8-3 right now
2-5-8-3. Yeah, I do a lot of late round tight ends, so I do a lot of that. Though I will say that middle area tight ends about where it started with the Trey McBride, Kincaids. I kind of like that because they've kind of fallen a step back like that. I know Andrew said he took his first Laporta share, got that week 17. I do love that matchup, that Detroit San Francisco matchup, and I just love those 2 offenses. Obviously, sometimes it's nice to, just like last year's Dallas Detroit game. Sure, it's nice that it's week 17, but oh, by the way, I love Detroit and Dallas offenses. So that was the main reason. And oh, by the way, it also correlates. So you said 2-5-8-3 is your favorite build?
I mean, if that's kind of how the draft falls to me, that's kind of what I end up with. Sometimes, the tight ends, like I'm finding value there and I just go 2 tight ends.
Right.
So then maybe it's like a 2-6-8-2 or a 2-5-9-2, it just depends. Like,
yeah.
I'm not trying to get too weird on my structures.
Right. I am more of a, and Andrew knows this, we joke about it because he's definitely more in the 2 QB camp. I'm more of a 3 quarterback girl. My favorite, and maybe it's success bias, but my BBM3 finals team was a 3-5-7-3, and I saw how that pushed me into the playoffs and then pushed me to the finals. And it's obviously to protect injury, to protect floor weeks, and to give you 3 stack options in the gauntlet of the playoffs. But in this case with Hurts, I'm totally fine doing a 2 quarterback build in this situation. But I do a good bit of 3-5-7-3, or of course, if it's like a 0 RB build, more like a 3-6-6-3 or 3-6-7-2, something like that. So I'm usually in that range, but always open to different structures, especially when you're again getting elite quarterbacks so early.
No, I used to be in that camp a lot as a 3 QB, and I still am sometimes. Like and actually last year I did a lot of 4 QB. It's like I won't draft a QB until
and then take 4 late ones.
Take 4 right in a row at the end, or I'll do the same with tight end. Take 4 tight ends right in a row, because like I feel like running back and wide receiver are so dried up in those rounds, and people are gonna kick back. It's like, oh yeah, but you could have landed on Kyron and Puka. But I mean, yeah, you could, but you
could also land on just absolute dusty dust balls.
Yeah, garbage. Like most of the time, 98% of the time, it's going to be garbage you're going to land on. So.
Right. Yeah, those are definitely diamonds in the rough. I have plenty of my late round gems. The only real late one, unfortunately, I did not have a high enough exposure to Puka and Kyron, and that was another lesson of me to maybe save some more drafts of my percentage portfolio later, as you pointed out. To gain that information. That was definitely an error on my part. But I was very, very high Sam Laporta, but he obviously got raised throughout the year, but I probably got him anywhere 13th to 18th round, a ton of him. But yeah, my late round receivers and running backs, there wasn't a ton of them outside the very few shares I had to those guys. Josh Reynolds was looking good at the beginning of the year. I had a bunch of him, and then he kind of tailed off. But so let's see. Andrew at the 4 spot then went T. Higgins like that, and came around and got Lamar Jackson in the 5th round. That's probably some falling value. We did get 3 quarterbacks in a row there in the 5th round.
Lamar, I love Lamar this year. I feel like Josh Allen or Hurts. I think Lamar's just as good of a pick, and you can
We
get
are
them
on
a
the
lot
clock. I
later.
apologize. So at 58, we have Mark Andrews, Joe Mixon, Xavier Worthy, Kyle Pitts. We still have some of those here to probably should start hitting some receivers, not running backs, obviously. Marquise Brown, who sticks out to you here?
I'll do Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's grab one of these hero guys, and we're getting a big discount on those guys too. You know, like I said, those elite tight ends, feels like we used to have to get them in the 3rd round, and now to get them in the 5th round feels like a big value.
Yeah, and I think this comes back to your roster construction too. Like it's falling into place. Okay, now it's going to be 2 QBs you need, and only 2 tight ends, and only 5 running backs. So then you're set up for a 9 wide receiver where you say, oh yeah, we're weak at receiver, but it's best ball, and you still have Garrett Wilson,
Right.
and now you can tack on 8 different receivers. Like
Right.
that to me, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, and then like you said, it's either quality or quantity. You know, as I've learned with best ball, taken me a while to get this right, but it's quality or quantity, not both. And then you go more quantity there. So at pick 63, I queued up some of the receivers I like here. One of the Kansas City receivers, Jordan Addison. Odunze makes me a little nervous just in a more crowded room, even though I think his talent's immense. Do like Lad McConkey too, though it's a little before ADP. Any thoughts on receivers that you really like in this area? Actually,
I like Marquise Brown a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I like both those Kansas City receivers.
I like Addison a lot too. Like I think those are both good bets. I like Addison. He showed a lot last year. Like I get Cousins is out of town, and Jefferson's in front of him, but I mean that guy has some straight up talent. Like he might be a better play in this, but
would you prefer Addison here at pick 63 with our second receiver pick, or would you prefer one of the KC receivers?
Probably Brown. I'm not on Worthy quite as much.
I mean, he's gotten steamed up really high, obviously. You know, based on all the Rashee Rice news, and obviously all his workout stuff, he was getting steamed up from the combine, and then once he landed in Kansas City.
I feel bad for Squanto here. We both just took both the KC receivers.
He was Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
he had to think for sure one of them was coming back to him. So
I didn't even see that. I didn't even know.
No, I didn't either.
And he's probably going to win because he's just going to get Rice later, and it's going to all work out second half of season.
So just looking at our build real quick on a break, we have a 1-2-2-1 build with Hurts, Barkley, correlation, Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews. We kind of obviously wait on running backs, and now kind of focus on more receivers. We'll be up again in the 7th and 8th round at pick 82 and 87. And as you can see, we brought the board back over to see how it's playing out. So Andrew grabbed David Montgomery, kind of doing a 0 RB build for his first running back there. I like that.
I think that was more the Detroit San Fran correlation too.
And right? Detroit San Francisco. Yeah, exactly. But if you're doing a 0 RB, he's a great one to start with, because, again, we're touchdown hunting here. And the one thing I learned that I'm trying to pay attention to this year, James, is which teams are run heavier in the red zone, more pass heavy in the red zone. And boy, did I not realize how run heavy Detroit is in the red zone. Goff popped off in I believe the quarterfinals for 5 touchdowns, and he had a couple, 3+ touchdown games, but they seem to be very run heavy between those 2 running backs in the red zone. So I as much as I'm sure do have my share of Goff stacks in the receiving game, I love those 2 running backs.
Yeah, and just like you said earlier, you just want to invest in like offenses, right?
Yes,
good offenses, and definitely Detroit's a ascending offense, and
absolutely
one that you should be buying all those players. Like it feels like you can't really go wrong on any of the running backs and the receivers and the tight ends. So
yeah. Andrew wanted to know advance rate on your 4 QB teams. He's never done a 4 QB build. What was your advance rate on 4 QBs? And then, did you have more success with 3 QBs last year, 2 QBs? Was there like a big discrepancy?
I mean, I didn't actually run the numbers on that. That would be a good strat. Usually, you know how you can label your teams for QB or whatever.
Yeah,
So I'll label
yeah,
those, and then later in the season, I'll see my sweats. I was like, oh yeah, this 4 QB team. This is in third place or second place. You know that's kind of. But I definitely saw a few that made the playoffs, and
right.
they didn't cost me anything to do it. My theory was more it's going to help you be unique in those playoff rounds. So it's more
Hmm.
like kind of sneak these teams into the playoffs, and then I'm going to have these QBs that no one's really going to have. Like even Stroud would have. I think he was what, like round 15 pick
Oh
last
yeah,
year.
he was definitely a late round guy last year for
So
sure.
you would have landed on Stroud. You would have probably landed
Yep.
on Bryce Young, or actually Bryce
Baker
Young was.
Baker was going last. He'd had a big playoff week. He had certainly some spike weeks.
Yeah, so
So
you're just trying to hit. Actually, like if you hit two of those four, you're pretty good.
any
And
thoughts here at picks 82? I mean, I can show you the whole board.
no, I would only go receiver the next 5 picks. If
Yeah.
anything else.
So who do you like here?
I like Hopkins or Smith and Jigba.
Do you prefer JSN or would you prefer Hopkins?
I'd probably go Hopkins here with
Okay.
just the way we're Wilson and Hollywood.
Yep. Yep. Okay. I left JSN and Deontay Johnson queued up. Is there any other receivers below this? I'm a big Jamison Williams.
Yeah, I think Jameson's a good value right now in drafts.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's ahead of ADP here if we decide to go there, but I think I'm surprised he's actually going this late. Because if you want Detroit exposure, I've realized this in trying to start to stack them up. They go quick, and you basically have no viable Detroit exposure after pick 100 with him.
well,
So that,
I think he's going to be more healthy. I think he's going to be more involved in the offense.
mhm.
And he's just like a huge big play guy.
Yeah.
And hopefully it hits this year. Like maybe it's going to be a bad pick, but it also could get, yeah, like you said, a cheap piece of that offense.
Yeah, it can open us up to a Goff stack if we wanted. It could, DeAndre Hopkins opens us up to a Levis stack. So I like some of the receivers we grabbed there of quarterbacks that you can get later as well.
Yeah,
So,
and you can also go Rice here too, where you got Hollywood. So Rice would be a dead pick, obviously, for a little bit,
right.
but
Well,
you
we're
do.
on the clock and all three are at our disposal. So I'll let you choose here. We've got Rice, we got Jamison Williams, we got Deontay Johnson. Who do you like the most here?
Yeah, I'll probably go Jameson.
Okay. I like that.
It kind of makes up for the Hopkins is not like a fun pick, but I think he has a little bit maybe a floor, and then
Right.
Jameson gives you a little bit of ceiling.
More
So
the ceiling spike week. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, for kind of waiting on receiver outside of Garrett Wilson, Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Jamison Williams, I think that's a nice little receiver start for 4. So we have 1, 2, 4, 1 to start the first 8 rounds. And now let me pull up the board coming around in the 8th round here. Let me see.
I see our Mahomes guy got Rice. See?
Oh, see, you called it. You said he'll get it. He'll get one of his guys. So Tim appreciates all the information. So let's see what's going on here. Now, one thing I need to pull up is bye weeks because
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
they usually they add that this week, I'm sure, but I don't believe it's added yet. And so I definitely did a draft the other day where there are some really, bye weeks and late in the season too, when you could be really starting to sweat it out with, like it looks like week 12, 6 teams, week 14, 6 teams. And we're talking Ravens, Texans, which actually is a week 17 stack. So you got to be careful about that. Week 12, Bills, Falcons, Jaguars, Jets. There's some really good offenses on the same bye week. So
I think it's more for QB and tight end. So let's just
yeah.
watch those two positions.
Yeah.
So
That's why
we got Philly, so we can't take a Tennessee Chargers, or you can't take your Goff. So it's the same.
Okay.
So yeah, good catch, because we probably would have had Goff lined up.
Right. Yeah. So that's why.
I was going to ask you what. So when you go through 3 QBs, when do you usually take that first one?
I mean, every now and then I'll still do 3 QBs with the hero, and then but if I do that with the elite QB, when I do that though, I likely get the 2 other QBs much later. Like I'm just giving an example: Will Levis, Baker Mayfield, or Will Levis, Bryce Young. I'm just kind of off the top of my head, just much later guys, so I can still address all the other positions kind of in between that first pick and then the second and third pick. But usually probably what I love is because this year QB prices have fallen, but there's a lot going in that mid round. I don't mind hitting 2. And then let me pull up the board just to kind of see, as you can see, we're getting a lot of purple. A lot of purple now goes in the kind of the 5th, 6th range. Yeah. But there's a lot even I like in that, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love in that 7th through, like we just saw Tua and Brocco in the 9th, that 7th through 10th range. So I don't mind kind of double tapping quarterback in that range and then getting like a late one. Okay. So it really ranges. But I do try to be careful about what the overall total capital is, right? Like I'm not going to go 2 elite, and then 1 in the middle or something like that. Like I am trying to kind of make sure it's spread out in some way, shape, or form. If I am doing the elite.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we're on the clock here in 1, right?
Yes. Let me pull that back up. Thank you. So point up at 106 receivers we've got on the board. We have Romeo Doubs, Adonai Mitchell, Khalil Shakir, Raheed Shaheed. We are on the clock now. What stands out to you here?
I like Doubs. I like Shaheed. I like, even further down a little bit, I like Myers a lot. I like Palmer a lot. I haven't really been drafting those Buffalo receivers. I just think you really
they get steamed up.
You really have to guess, right?
Are you fine with Shaheed? He's probably my favorite. What are you fine with him as our 5th receiver?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just let that go then for Shaheed pick, and then we'll be back up at 111. We do have 5 receivers now, so if we wanted to go somewhere else in the 10th round, we could. But it's kind of, let's look at the whole board and what do you see as far as, in running back, we got Mostert, Benson, Nick Chubb. This is kind of a running back sweet spot. Then, the receivers we queued up and mentioned. Then there are some good, other tight ends on the board here.
I think Goddard would be interesting, just with Andrews.
That's true.
Goddard.
Yeah, just with our correlation. Yeah, just team level correlation there.
Yeah, that's probably, they don't have the same bye either. So Goddard and
Andrews.
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you for checking that. I cannot wait till they add the bye week here. Okay, so perfect. Let's go ahead and draft Goddard. I pulled it up, but I hadn't totally. So now that we have a little break. Like you said, at those onesie positions, you just need to make sure those are really covered. I just pulled it up. So Philadelphia is week 5, and Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore's much later. So that's right. So Philadelphia week 5. Yeah, you made a point. It's also Lions, Chargers, Titans. So the 2 guys I mentioned stacking with are a no-go with Goff and Levis. So, but we'll find something else. No worries. But that's good that we mentioned that.
I mean, you can't do Levis either, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, and can't do Levis, can't do Goff. So best laid plans, right? You can
always do Derek Carr that nobody wants way late.
Yeah, you can get him so late now. We got people in chat to bye week. And then we got Felix Castor. He's one of my favorite, one DraftKings Millie Maker a couple years back. Always love him in chat. He's a big Najee, won him the Millie Maker, so he's a loyal Najee drafter, and I love it.
Yeah, I like Felix is a good one.
He's a good one. Yeah, he's great, and I love his dedication to Najee. If some guy wins me $1 million, I'm probably gonna be pretty loyal to him and my exposures to him. So.
Yeah, I mean, he takes a lot of heat out there too. So
he does.
I love that he just keeps.
He laughs it off. Yeah.
I do feel like that there is a lot of in the community, you have to think almost the same way as everyone to kind of get included sometimes. Where
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate the people that are like open-minded, doing their own thing,
Yep.
pushing back a little bit on and stuff. And I get like I probably should be more in line with some of the ideas that a lot of the big
No, I
leagues.
love that you push back on certain things. I mean, I think it's good to have constructive, productive conversations. There's a lot of ways to have success in best ball. It's not just one way, and it's not really going to help us to just have an echo chamber. I think
Yeah,
it's good to push back and have good, productive conversations. And we can both be right. Like I can be right with my 3 quarterback stand, and there's tons of people that can have a ton of success with 2 quarterbacks. So that's my biggest pushback usually on is 3 quarterbacks and have a couple other stands that team level correlation is like one of the big things that I focus on, probably like you said, more than jamming week 16 and 17, but I experiment with that too. Like you said, you're trying to balance your portfolio both with players but also strategies, right?
yeah, no, for sure. And I think that it's just important to kind of have your own way of thinking. You're putting your own money in, you're putting your own time in.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sense just following somebody else's rankings. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
great if you want to get people's rankings, but I would
Right.
suggest take those rankings and still adjust them somewhat on your own. Like
Right.
you can download rankings from a site. Like even if you downloaded my rankings, I would hope you'd go in, switch, 10 different spots, and things like that. Because you
Right.
shouldn't agree with anyone 100%.
Right. So we're back on the clock, James, and at the 1-2-5-2, I'd say running back or receiver here. We do have Eckler at the top of the board, Touchy Spears, Charbonnet, James Ford, 14 seconds. We have Dotson, Gabe
Uh,
Davis, and
I
then
think Lawrence and Gabe Davis would be fun, if we could try to get that.
okay, you want to grab Lawrence? That doesn't conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
there's a big drop off. I mean, I guess you could have got Aaron Rodgers too. So I
yeah,
mean,
well, with Lawrence, we got a nice ADP value there too.
yep,
So
that's what. And then you're locked in at QB. It's like your QB and tight ends are pretty fun right now. Like
yep.
just the two. I know you like the three, but if you
No,
want to convince me
hey, it's
later,
good. It's good to mix up. Like I said, it's totally good to mix up your portfolio. I also very strongly believe in that too. So, okay, Gabe Davis did just go, but that's okay. We can, I'm sure, find correlations other places. Taji Spears just went. Eckler did go as well. Any thoughts here of who you like? Do you like Charbonnet, James Ford?
who's receivers? I like Wicks. That's who I'd pick here.
Okay. That gets us more Packers exposure. We have Jacobs that we got early. So again,
I think I
we can.
actually think Wicks could be the number one receiver in Green Bay. Like
He
Watson
was
has a
very
lot of.
impressive in the
Well,
postseason.
I think Jalen Reed is like he's way too high in ADP right now. I feel like Dobbs. I like Dobbs too,
Right.
for best ball, but I think Wicks has like, and even like Bo Mountain's fun, like in the 18th round. If you
Yeah. The Packers are so tough for me that I haven't gotten a lot of them yet because I do get kind of, a bit, at like deer in the headlights, like not knowing what to do when you have those more crowded rooms,
yeah.
But Justin loves the Wicks take. He's down for that. So yeah, so that was our 11-12 turn. So we got our second quarterback. We got Datavian Wicks. So we have a 2-2-6-2 now. So like you said, we're kind of covered at quarterback, covered at tight end. Now we can, with the rest of the picks, focus on rounding out that running back room and any other receivers.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to get Gabe Davis there.
Yeah, that was tough since it was,
Uh,
our picks were 4 or 5 picks together and he went right in between. But
but I think even as Lawrence as your QB two, he does have a little bit of rushing upside. So I think even if you go naked Lawrence, it's
right,
fine too,
right.
especially as your QB two. So I don't think you need to worry. Like
I
I
was
don't
going to
think that.
say, is there even any other Jaguars on the board that are available? Probably not. That's not.
I
totally
mean, the
useless.
only thing I
Besides,
would
if you
think
want to
of,
correlate tank,
yeah, you could do tank like as an 18th round pick if no one scoops him there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
other than that, I don't think so.
I mean, I just queued him up to keep an eye on it. Just again, I don't mind that kind of quarterback. I mean, I know it's the backup running back correlation, but don't mind that.
I do know the Eagles play week 16 Washington and then week 17 Dallas. So
I was just going to point that out. I knew they had some NFC East matchups to in the playoff schedule that I found interesting. I was going to ask, just out of curiosity, any if there was any Dallas left. I know my brother likes Tolbert as a last round
actually,
pick.
I love
So
Tolbert. I
yeah,
think
so we could
he's
target that for
sneaky.
super late. Yeah, I mean, because
Like I bet you his ADP in August will be like in the 160s.
I agree. He seems
And
like one that'll rise up when people catch on. Like, hey, this guy is the third receiver. He's basically playing the Gallup role, and then if anything happens, and he looked good last year, I thought.
Yeah,
so.
And then there's also Washington McCaffrey. Like
yeah,
throw him in the
no,
queue too. But yeah, so I've had a lot of pushback on like the even like correlating for those last playoff weeks because I'm just like you just have to get there. But I've
right.
tried to open my mind to it. I know I've been pretty against zero running back in the past, and I think even Overset like made fun of me on that. It's like, oh, finally you came around to the zero running back. But as you see in this build, we still went Barkley and
Yeah, we did a
Jacobs.
double hero build.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, I mean, again, I just what I believe about best ball conversations, best ball strategies is there's a lot of way to meet in the finals. You just have to do whatever build you're doing the right way. I mean, like if we're drafting Barkley and Jacobs early, we're not going to draft 8 running backs. So we just have to be smart about it, and think we will be. And so yeah, that's why I think these conversations are productive. And I'm paying attention to the week 16, 17 correlation, but never think you should force it. Never think you should take like a dusty player that's not going to have a chance to see the field. I think it was funny last year. People were, okay, we're on the clock, and then I'll finish my thought. These were obviously ones to queue for later. So
I love Chandler. I love
Chandler.
Kendre Miller too. Like those two are super underrated right now, where they should be going.
Do you have
higher.
a preference between the two? They're both around the same ADP.
I think Miller probably more opportunity, like a potential league winner, because I'm not. I
put him ahead, and then
Kamara. Like I'm off Kamara, but also
yeah, I haven't really drafted Kamara either. So we got Miller with our 13th round, and then 14th round is coming in just 4 picks. Would you go ahead and double tap running back there and get our 4th one with Chandler? Yeah, if Chandler's still there,
what's the other running backs?
Yeah, let me pull that up. You got Ray Davis. The commodity Vidal does intrigue me, I will say, just because, again, the type of volume, we think that could be a kind of a high rushing volume offense. So that intrigues me because it's Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins and him. So I don't know. Thoughts on him? Thoughts on Ray Davis, even if we don't take him here?
I like Algier better than both of them. I love Vidal's great, but I think he's getting way overdrafted. He was a really late pick.
Right.
But
I've been taking Gus Edwards when I can. Maybe it's because he did really well for me last year. Sometimes you have those success loyalties,
people hate the Chargers passing game, but I really like Justin Herbert. Like I feel like he's like on everyone's
so late.
He's on everyone's do not draft list. Absolutely do not. But I actually love Herbert.
Okay, so actually Dobbins goes there. Do you want to take Chandler here?
Oh, Chandler. Yeah, Chandler and Miller are like a dream scenario, especially with going Barkley.
Yeah.
And Jacobs to start out. Like that's really fun.
Yeah, that's really fun. So yeah, we have a nice balance 2-4-6-2 going on right now with 4 spots left. Probably get one more receiver and stack up some more, one more running back and stack up some receivers. So I like how that played out for us in that turn. Like you said, that was kind of a dream turn to get 2 solid running backs there.
Yeah, like why would anyone want J.K. Dobbins? Like I don't get that pick any this year. I don't know. I'm just not taking those older injured, especially at running back. Like I don't know.
What's your thoughts on Nick Chubb, like coming back from injury? Have you taken any shares? Are you going to take any
No,
shares
I'm
if he falls?
100% off Nick Chubb.
Okay, off Nick Chubb.
I think Jerome Ford, one of the best values this year too.
I believe our guy Andrew got Ford a couple rounds back. We knew he got Najee because he and Felix were joking about that. Thought I saw that. Yeah, he got Jerome Ford in the 12th round. Yeah, I think that's great.
Jerome Ford should probably be like an 8th rounder. Like
that's a great pick.
Same as like a Hawkinson, completely off him. Like
just coming back from.
I don't see, unless it's like if they're there in like 17th, 18th round, maybe. But like I'm not going to use like a mid round, like even like 9th or 10th round pick on those guys. Like no, I'm good.
Yeah, Justin says in chat the ADP for wide receiver friendlier for double hero running back right now. I like my teams where I took that approach. I do too. I will say I do want to mix it up because there are like Andrew kind of grabbed some of these running backs in that like 0 RB range where you hit multiple in that 7th, 8th, 9th round. He got some of the guys that I really like: David Montgomery, Najee Harris, Jerome Ford, and then Chuba Hubbard.
He got Roman Wilson. Yeah, like he drafts a lot like me. Like those, I have a lot of very similar teams to that.
Yeah. I love the Roman Wilson pick. He's one of my. I like Lad McConkey, who's going much earlier, obviously, but I do like some of these rookie receivers. I mean, this was such a strong receiver class, and of course it's strong up top, but I think some of these receivers going later, like a Roman Wilson, are very fun.
I think Roman Wilson's one of my favorite rookies. I'm just
should slot into the Deontay Johnson role, right?
Well, and his ADP hasn't really shifted, and I think it's like the Arthur Smith hate kind of where people, and maybe it won't shift at all. But so I'm just gonna keep buying him. Like,
absolutely.
Pittsburgh knows receivers. He's already like second on that depth chart.
Mm-hmm.
So I really feel like that's
I think he's going to slot into such a great role, and
it works in the underdog tournaments. Like he's going to be like a playoff hero potentially down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like Felix is loyal to Najee, Andrew Ford helped him get to the finals last year. So yeah, I get those loyalties, and again, hey, it's good to have loyalties with a great pick like Jerome Ford. We're coming back 15th round here. So 15th, 16th round, we'll be at pick 178 and 183. Luke McCaffrey just went, did have him queued up. The guys I have queued up are definitely going later. So,
you really could go Tracy here. Like we don't really have a lot of rookies, or actually Roschon Johnson, one of my favorites too.
Oh, you and Andrew are going to be best friends because he's a Roschon Johnson guy. He may have been in the year early, but he loves Roschon. So you want to draft Roschon here?
Yeah, that's what I would do, and then finish the draft out by receivers. Like I feel like this 5 running back room is perfect.
Yeah, I can get rid of these guys. 2, 5, 6, 2, and we only have. I guess we have 3 picks left, so we'll be up again here at 183. Yep. So, I mean, I have Tolbert queued up for later because I do love that as a late round. But we're basically can focus on receivers. So who do you like here, James? We've got.
I like Wandell. I like Robinson. Those are the 2 I'd probably go with right here.
Okay. Yeah, we're up in 1. Did Giants Eagles play in the playoffs? I'm trying to remember.
They don't, not 16, 17.
No, that's Cowboys Washington in 16, 17, I believe. But I think Wandell's a good pick. Luke McCaffrey would have been fun, but he went a couple of picks ago.
I think Wandell's a good pick too right now. Just like a lot of uncertainty in the Giants, and they don't have any playmakers. But maybe he is
right.
One of the big playmaker. Let's scroll down and just cue some guys here.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Tez Walker from Baltimore to get Baltimore exposure. If you like that, who else do you like in this range? We got Tyler Boyd, DJ Shark, Elijah Moore, McMillan, Malik Washington from Miami, Jalen Hyatt.
I think when you go Wandell too, like Hyatt's fun. Like to get both of those guys. I'm not saying to do that, but
yeah, we can queue them up and keep an eye.
A lot of these guys, like, ATP AT Perry. I like.
Yeah, we got two New Orleans guys, so we can continue, New Orleans correlation there.
Yeah, I don't keep going.
Yeah.
Uh,
This gets pretty thin for
I like
me.
Trey Palmer a lot.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not. I get they drafted McMillan, but I think actually Palmer might get on the field.
Yeah.
And he
had some
looked
decent
good.
games last year. Yeah.
I thought he looked great. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
I'm not like Beckham or Boyd or Chark or like all those guys we've seen do it. Especially with this build, like if you got the Walker pick, I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Perry, because the second year breakout still, Palmer's kind of could break out. So those are the bets I'm going to take on a build like we have right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't want these old receivers that bounce
Yeah.
around teams or anything like that.
So no Beckham for you this year, huh?
Oh no.
Any Malik Washington, the young speedy guy?
I would take him over Beckham.
Yeah. We can
And that I would only take him if I took Tua too, though.
Yeah. I don't have a ton of interest there. I haven't taken either him or Odell yet. So let me bring the board back over. So yeah, we will be finishing out the draft 202 and 207. And again, we have a 2572 right now.
And I think you might have a luxury pick here. Like if you wanted to look at QB, if you wanted to look at running back, if you wanted to look at tight end, like if there's a value guy there that falls.
Well, let me see. Speaking of my QBs, oh, he is there. If he falls, we have some Saints exposure. So I'll just keep an eye on Derek Carr. Anybody else that we already have kind of built?
You got Levis too.
I mean, yeah, if we're going 3 QBs, we could have a double we could have a double bye week because we have the third QB. Because what week is Lawrence's bye week? Is Jacksonville is week 12. Yeah. Yeah, Justin says go Carr there. Yeah, I think I mean I don't mind. I don't do it a ton, but if in a 3 QB build, especially if it's like a late one with a second one, as long as you have, a third QB, so you're not taking a 0 on a bye week, I don't mind that if we decide to take Levis. But then again, we have some multiple Saints, so I don't mind Carr there because I do think we did a really good job of backing up the receiver position after, not addressing it early. Garrett Wilson, Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Jameson Williams, Raheed Shaheed, Dontavian Wicks, Rondell Robinson. I wouldn't, and I'm not trying to force my 3 quarterback propaganda on you, but if we wanted to go 3-5-8-2, I wouldn't hate it, but I'd also be fine if you found, just because it felt like some of the receivers were thin outside of the guys we queued up, but I'll leave it up to you.
I mean, you definitely. This is your hard-earned money you're putting to play here. It's like preach.
I know, but this is our team,
that.
James. We're going to be splitting this thing when it goes all the way here. So, okay, so we're up in 2 picks at 202, and again, it's 202 and 207. So, do we grab Tolbert here because we like him so much, or do we grab one of these quarterbacks that have fallen?
I would take Tolbert and then see
what happens for the last pick, which is coming up 5 picks later. Yeah,
because I think like you're probably right where Carr or Levis, and you can get some kind of a stack and a little bit of insurance there at the QB.
Mm-hmm. I love Tolbert here as like the very end of the draft, and then he totally correlates. You have a late correlate week 17 correlation with the big Philly stack.
Oh, and Dallas is going to be so bad this year. Just kidding. But when it comes to week 17, it's going to be like Lamb's on the bench. Their running backs, they're on their 4th, 5th string running back, and it's only Tolbert, right?
Right. Exactly. Could you imagine? It would be set up. Let me take a quick look at the chat. Andrew, early adopter to Roshan. So he's with you. We've got Tyler in chat. He loves Eagles. And how's it going? Thank you so much for joining us. He says McMillan probably pushes Godwin more the slot role. But yeah, Palmer, big spike week guy. So, Justin, we let's see, we maybe still can go Carr. He's Levis
I
was
mean,
taken.
both
So
these
there,
guys have 3 QBs, so they'd be crazy to take 4 QBs.
yeah, exactly. So
And
yeah,
we're probably crazy to take 3 QBs, but
when Levis, Daniel Jones, Kraft, Gesicki, do you want to go Carr here? Or do you really have a strong feeling on one of these other three guys?
I don't have a strong feeling. I'm fine with it.
All right.
I think
I
it
didn't
plays
want to force you
perfect.
into a 3 quarterback build, but we made it work because we do have, excuse me, Kendry Miller and Rashid Shaheed. So
So I think the mistake we made, like if we knew we could have got Carr there, like we shouldn't have taken Lawrence. Like we should have probably took a receiver, like in that spot. Like if you look back on the board, like where did we take Lawrence? What
I was gonna say I'd have
receiver?
to see. Yeah, let's pull up the board and see where we took Lawrence and see what other receivers were available to us. Okay, so we took Lawrence in the 11th round.
Yeah, so we could have got Dotson. Like Dotson would have been probably nice with the Washington correlation with Philly. So that
Oh,
probably,
okay. I was looking the wrong way. Yes, he
yeah,
went right after us.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Or we could have went Gabe Davis, and then if Lawrence would have fell to us, and then that would have made more. That I think that was probably the only hiccup we made there in that draft.
Right.
But,
Yeah. Oh, you mean go Gabe Davis first, then hope Lawrence falls to
yeah,
us. I
yeah,
get what you're saying.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good to like do the review after and see, like, especially on fast drafts. Okay, in the moment, what would I have maybe done differently? Another one that I wouldn't have hated is if where did Rodgers go in this one? Because Jets don't have the same bye week as Eagles. We could have done Jets as well. I'm trying to see. Rodgers, I've noticed, has gone earlier. No, this one he went 13th round. Actually, he went later than ADP. In the couple drafts I did yesterday, he went earlier than ADP, and I thought just maybe because of different correlations, he was getting pushed up. But he went later in this one, so that was another potential option. But hey, I'm happy with the team and how it turned out. Let's see what our guy Andrews. We'll do a full review actually as it's finished up here. Once it's done, we'll go take a look at Andrew's team and take a look at our team. Give it a full assessment. But I don't know, James. At first gut feeling, I like it. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think the whole key is like construction and to try to take players you believe in, take players that you feel have upside. Try to avoid like the dead kind of players in my opinion. And like I said a lot last year, try to draft more like a dynasty kind of team. Like I'm trying to take players in that 1 to 5 year window where they still can break out. And I feel like that gives you instantly a lot of upside in these tournaments.
Right.
Without really having to try or deep dive. It's just like, oh, do I take Odell Beckham or do I take Malik Washington?
Right.
That's my last pick, and you should probably go with the younger guy. Like,
right.
Just making those kind of decisions along the way. So.
Right. Well, let's take a look at our guy Andrew's draft first, and we'll review our draft, and then we can get on out of here for another fun Friends of Best Ball. So Andrew's at the 4 spot, 2592. He got 2 studs here: Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, David Montgomery, Najee Harris, Jerome Ford, Chuba Hubbard, Jaleel McLaughlin. So even waiting on running back, he did get a good stable of them. And then Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, Khalil Shakir, Brandon Cooks, Roman Wilson, Tez Walker, Odell Beckham, Malik Washington. So you got both of the Miami guys.
Yeah.
And Miami runs back to no, that was Baltimore last year. Still learning. I know they play San Francisco in the playoff schedule, but yeah, getting some late round Miami exposure.
No, I love all those guys he took. I wonder why he went with the Miami and not like the Jennings and who's the other San Fran, that Cohen rookie. Like you could have
that rookie.
double tap both those San Fran guys too. Like that.
Gotcha.
That would have been fun with the Purdy.
Okay, so yeah, he got Sam Laporte, Kittle. Obviously, that is the week 17. So he's got a nice little Detroit, San Francisco stack working there, and then. So who did he get with Lamar? Tez. Okay, so you got the late round Tez Walker, who I think can emerge as like, kind of a wide receiver 2, 3. I mean, I like Bateman this year too. But like you said, he had a lot of your draft style. I mean, I wouldn't mind a 6th running back here since he waited, but I still like his running back room. And yeah, definitely like the 2 quarterback stacks he got and some of those value guys. Like you said, you mentioned Roman Wilson, and definitely love that San Francisco Detroit game. If we are talking week 17, is one of my favorite. Any thoughts on Andrew's team?
No, I think it's just, yeah, you can tell he's been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
And just doing a lot of drafts helps just be quick on these fast drafts. Like, you already know who you want. Like, you don't, in top of your head, yeah, nice 4 or 5 running backs.
Yeah, they were solid. So yeah, he made the decision. I don't need 6 because you got some solid ones there. So okay, let's review our team one more time here. And
I do love how Andrew went the 2 QBs and the 2 tight ends, and just like the really heavy on those positions. They're just like locked in for the full season.
Yep.
And then that just cute in an 18-round draft. That gives you 14 spots to dedicate to running back and receiver. It just to me, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I know he talks about, he and I will have fun debates about 2 versus 3. But I will say his 2 QB teams I love because he hits those guys that are just, they should be your guy, right? I mean, outside of injury, they should be your guy. Have pretty safe floors, definitely spike week potential. So it's not like he's drafting too late. He does it the right way, I think, of doing 2 QBs. And so I really appreciate that. And that's why I appreciate different strategies and mixing up and hearing about different strategies too. So, okay. So ours is a 3-5-8-2. We were going to do 2-5-9-2 because we kind of waited on receiver, but then I do think we built out a nice stable of receivers. So we have Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, and Derek Carr. Lawrence was not able to be stacked, but the other 2 were very nicely stacked. Lawrence just kind of got sniped on Gabe Davis. There are no other real good options. But we have a nice Philly stack going with Barkley and Goddard too. So we have Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Kendre Miller, Ty Chandler, Roshan Johnson, like that stable of running backs. And then our receivers, Garrett Wilson, Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Jamison Williams, Rashid Shaheed, Dontavian Wicks, Wan'Dale Robinson, and love the second to last round Jalen Tolbert pick. And then 2 really solid tight ends in Mark Andrews and Dallas Goedert. So did get a little correlation in there with our stacks, but overall, I just like that we got access to, a lot of good offenses, Philly, Jacksonville, Green Bay, New Orleans has some, obviously a lot of dome games. Getting small pieces of Detroit and Dallas and Baltimore. So those are my favorite things about it. What is your assessment post-draft?
Yeah, obviously when you go with like a Barkley and Jacobs early in the first 4 rounds, right?
Yep.
That's going to hurt your receiver room. So you're always playing catch up there. But,
sure.
But I think you're trying to build that room a little differently and think differently. So I think like players like you're hoping Garrett Wilson, he can take to the next level. So he's your anchor there. Sure. But then you have like the Hollywood, you have the Jameson, you have the Shaheed, you have like the Wicks, and even Wan'Dale and Tolbert. Like those guys are all spike week guys. Like
tons of spike week potential there. Yeah.
Yeah, you might get a 0 here and there or a low score, but you're hoping the other guy steps up. And I think Hopkins is more of like the ceiling. Like, I don't know, he's older, but he might flow you for some floor games and give you 10 points along the way. Well, if like 4 of those other guys strike out that week,
right.
So I like it. I feel like maybe one more would have been nicer, but at the end, I don't know who was there. Right.
Yeah. So we queued up all the receivers and we kept scrolling down and didn't really see anything that we liked. So I was with you. It didn't feel like any of those other ones as a 9th one would have been much of a needle mover there.
The one thing I do see in these drafts is, everyone says, balance build or this or that, and you want to you worry about your structure, but I always feel like you have to sacrifice one position. So usually for me, that's tight end. I sacrifice that position.
Right.
I think if you go 3 QBs, you can kind of sacrifice that position.
Yeah, I think that's why I end up usually doing a lot of late round tight end. But I will say, like we talked about during the draft, this middle range from like 50 to 120, basically up till like Dalton Schultz. I think there's a lot of solid guys on really good offenses there that are very enticing that could be outliers in the playoffs. So I do see I'm kind of going back and forth. And again, it's just mixing different structures. I'll do plenty of the late round tight end too. You saw my article about Jatavion Sanders. He's my favorite late round guy at tight end, but I like plenty of late round tight ends this year too. But I do like what we did in this one and getting 2 really solid guys in that 50 to 100 range.
No, it's a fun draft. Thanks for letting me draft with you and pick your brain as well.
Oh my gosh, it's been a blast. Again, thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out of here. So we do 4 live drafts every week, Friends of Best Ball every Friday. And we have plenty of other strategy shows, shorts, and of course, all free content on fanspeak.com. So James, any final thoughts for the people before we get out of here? This has been a blast. Again, I'm so honored, excited. This was a joy to talk to you because again, I just love everything that you provide us best ballers on Twitter and your website. So anything else for the people before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I'm pretty much open book. So hit me up on Twitter and I'm always happy. I love best ball and want to just keep growing and I'm happy when you guys win. So whoever's out there and they're winning, I don't need to win everything. I'm fine. So
get your slice of the pie and others can get theirs too.
I feel like best ball is a fun community where we're all cheering each other on. So it's not ego driven. I want to be the best. I am the best, that's definitely not the angle that a lot of the communities looking at. I agree. So that's what makes it fun. So number 1, fun. Number 2, try to make some money. Number 3, just change it up nonstop in your drafts.
Exactly. Well, this was a ton of fun. Thank you again so much for joining us. So for James, I'm Meg, and we will see you next time.